Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Veterinary Life Coach Podcast. Today's episode is just me, and I'm calling it Designing Your Best Year as a Veterinarian. Not hoping for your best year, not wishing for your best year, not reacting to your year, but actually designing it the way you want it to be. Because your year doesn't just have to happen to you, you can create it for yourself. One decision, one thought, one action at a time. So if you've ever gotten to the end of your previous year thinking, how did this happen so fast? I worked so hard, but I don't feel fulfilled. I didn't make any progress. I didn't do the things I said I would do. This is the episode to talk about that. We talked a little bit on my podcast number 366 about making the year bright and bold. And this will sort of take off from where we left off there. It was more of a start for working on your better new year. And now we're talking about something similar, but different. On this podcast, I want to get more in the weeds about becoming more specific with your goals and encourage you to take better charge of your year without pressuring yourself, without shaming yourself, without overwhelming yourself with goals. So today we're going to change the way we think about the new year. We're going to look at goals through the lens of thoughts, emotions, even some of the choices that we make, because that's where real change comes. The accomplishments don't matter as much as the change that happens within us, our personal growth. And then focusing on the growth will cause the accomplishments to come, if that makes sense. So even though it's late in January, you're not too late, you're not behind, you're exactly where you need to be every day. Don't shame yourself for what you didn't do yesterday. Just vow to do a tiny bit better today. So why do most of us feel stuck? That is a big question. I hear this statement over and over again from the veterinarians that I coach. They say, I feel stuck. I feel like I'm living the same year over and over again. I've had the same schedule for 10 years. I have the same stressors that I had last year. I haven't made any progress to make that better. I feel the same sense of overwhelm. I have the same negative self-talk, the same bad habits, the same self-doubt, the same promises that I made myself last year to make things better, I'm now making again this year. And then the calendar changes over, but nothing else seems to change. We stay on this same hamster wheel, making the same choices over and over again, making the same vows to eat better, to exercise more. And it's not because we're lazy. It's not because we're unmotivated. We have all the motivation in the world. It's because that we weren't taught to intentionally decide to design and make the proper choices for the life that we want to live, the future that we want to live. So instead of designing our life, we're reacting to circumstances. And as we continue to react, we kind of create the same reactions and create the same reality because we're afraid to step out of that comfort zone. And we all know how to solve medical problems. We're just not trained to solve this design problem to make our life more fulfilling. Even at this stage in my life, I'm still struggling to grow, change, and I've made a lot of progress over the last probably 10 to 15 years, or over my whole life in general, really. But when you intentionally start to design your life, intentionally choose the changes that you want to make, it gets so much better, so much faster. So the first step, if you can call it that, would be to decide what you want to change in you this year. So before we talk about or set goals, before we become more productive, before we make more work-life balance, we want to start with a question about who we want to be this year. Not what do you want to achieve, but who do you want to be while you're achieving it? And my answer to this question is I want to be the person that respects myself enough to say no when I don't want to do something and really know authentically that I don't want to do it. Because if you're a people pleaser like me, you don't always know whether it's you that wants to do it or that people pleaser in you. So I want to be a non-people pleaser this year. And this is something I've been working on for a while, but I'm still continuing to progress in this direction. I want to be more calm and more present in every part of my life so that I can notice and enjoy all of it. That's my answer to that question. And you'll have your own, right? You have the things that you want to do this year for yourself. So here's how to figure this out. Ask yourself a few questions. How do I want to feel when I'm at work? Now, my answer to that question is I want to be calm, I want to be patient, I want to be confident, and I want to be open. And that helps me be a better coach and a better veterinarian. Another question might be, how do I want to show up with my clients? Now, my answer to that question would be, I want to stay present and I want to be and feel open to all their possibilities. I want to help them solve their problems. Another question to ask yourself is, how do I want to experience my personal life? I'm going to say for my personal life, I want to be more joyful and more grateful. And then what do I want my energy to feel like? My answer is excited. I want to be excited about my life every day, even in the bad stuff. Excited about the discovery of what's going to happen for me this year. So you'll notice when we're answering these questions, I speak a lot about feelings or emotions. And the reason I do that is because our feelings and emotions are what determine what we do or our action steps. And those actions are what brings us results in our life. So it all starts with your thoughts and your feelings, and then working on those things to create the change that you want when you're designing this new life of yours. So some examples of the feelings that you might want to create for yourself this year might be calm and confident, intentional, focused, present or connected. If you want to create more connected relationships, I love that one. Strong, self-trusting. And that's kind of self-confidence, right? But not always, because you can be self-confident and still not trust your decisions. And all those feeling words will help you create the identity that you're looking for this year. So write yourself a little poster, a little index card, and this is what I did when I was writing this podcast, and hang it on your desk somewhere. Mine's hanging right here on my microphone stand with the words that you want to feel this year as you're creating this identity. And so if you have this little card posted somewhere where you can read it every day, it will remind you of your choices and your goals. And mine says right here, it says calm, confident, patient, open, joyful, grateful, excited. Those are my feelings that I want to create for 2026 for myself. And so every decision that you make from here on out gets filtered through those feelings. And so then the question is this decision that I'm making today, or is this choice that I'm making today aligned with the human that I'm becoming that feels all these feelings? And then in order to decide if this decision is going to align with these feelings, the question is, how does this make me feel? So when I'm deciding whether I want to say go scrapbooking because I have a scrapbooking event coming up. And I was struggling a little bit with this decision because me going scrapbooking means I've got to get in an airplane because I'm in Florida right now. I have to fly to Michigan where it's super cold and super snowy, which I do kind of like, but I don't always love. And that takes effort to be with my friends for a few days scrapbooking. And so the people pleaser in me would say yes every time because I want to please my friends. But the person that wants to be calm, confident, patient, open, joyful, grateful, and excited has to decide if going scrapbooking, flying on a plane, getting my stuff, going to another place to stay where I'm scrapbooking, to stay with my friends for a few days, is going to be authentic to this identity that I'm creating for this year. And my answer ended up being yes. This is something that will make me excited, joyful, grateful because I love all my friends. My daughter's talking about coming. It's going to be amazing. So when someone asks me, do you want to go scrapbooking? Even though it sounds a little stressful, I say yes. So that's how you start living into this life that you're designing. So that's step one. Pick your words, answer these questions, pick your identity and your plan for this year, what you're going to live into. Step two would be to take all those goals, that list that you've made for 2026 and make that list of goals more meaningful. And so what I mean by that is we're very good at setting goals and making a long list of goals and even achieving them. Like we're high achievers, veterinarians. But sometimes our goals defeat us because there's too many of them. They're too lofty. We don't plan for them. We don't put our own self-care into those goals. So this year, what I'm proposing that you do is choose 3 to 5 very meaningful goals. And that's the maximum I want you to choose. And if you accomplish them all in the first 3 months, fine, add another one. But don't start with a list of 30. Start with a list of 3 to 5 that actually mean something to you. And maybe it's just changing the way you look at the world. Or maybe it's, I want to be less people pleasing this year. Or maybe it's, I just want to feel more grateful. These don't have to be, I want to, run a marathon or mush in that Iditarod. It doesn't have to be huge, but it can be. But it has to be meaningful to you, not just a goal because you're trying to make goals for goals' sake. So we want it to matter to you, not just the profession. So you could make goals in different areas of your life, like your career goals, your practice goals if you're a practice owner. There could be personal growth goals, which I love to set. I think that's one of the most important things we can do for ourselves. You might have health goals, energy goals, relationship goals, financial goals, time management goals, or time freedom, and maybe even boundaries. So think about those things and pick 3 to 5 that are super meaningful to you. Whatever it is that you want to do, you're designing your future. So the goals have to support the way you want to feel, not just what you want to accomplish. So instead of saying, I want to work harder, I want to do better at work, maybe I want to focus on creating better boundaries at work. Instead of saying, I want to feel less stressed out at work, try maybe, I want to learn to manage my mind under stress or pressure. Because we all know that life is going to bring us stress. So eliminating stress is impossible. You can't be less stressed until you train your mind to not feel stress under pressure. So think about that. That is kind of a mind meld kind of thought, but it's the truth. Like there's people that can handle lots of stress, and it's not because they're better than you or smarter than you or less anxious than you. It just means that they spent some time working on mind management. And that's what life coaching in a lot of ways is, or therapy, or whatever you're doing for yourself in the mind and the personal growth space. That's going to help you. So, step three is working to understand where your results really come from. And that's why I love life coaching, because this is kind of that life coaching piece. Your results don't come from the things that happen to you, not your circumstances. They come from how you think about things. So let me say that again so you really hear it, because it changes the way you look at your life. Your schedule, your clients, your staff, your workload don't create stress. Your thinking about your schedule, your clients, your staff, your workload, your family, your relationships, the thinking about these things is what creates your stress. So here's the model that I was taught through one of my life coaching programs that I like because it's simple, it's easy to think about. And we've talked about this before, but if you haven't heard it, I want you to hear it. It's very simple. It's your thoughts create your feelings drive your actions, and your actions create your results. So, in a simpler form, your thoughts are creating your results. So, every time there's a problem, you start with your thoughts and your feelings, and then look at what it's causing you to do, and that will show you what the results you're getting. That it comes directly from your thoughts and feelings. So if you want to have a different year, you've got to be willing to think about it differently, especially when things get hard, especially when you're stressed out. And that means questioning your old beliefs, your stories, as I like to call them. I wrote a little bit about that in my book. Your old belief or stories, you have to question them. You have to notice them too. You also have to notice your automatic negative self-talk, the way your Chihuahua brain talks to you. It's there's a lot of negativity in there, and you need to notice it in order to change. And then you're going to learn to respond to those things, not just react to those things. And this is where it starts to become freeing. Step number 4 in designing your life is going to be building your emotional resilience, not trying to be more efficient. Like we're always trying to manage our time, manage our calendar, manage our family, manage our team, manage our clients. We're always trying to like be more efficient, and that's helpful. But really, it's the emotional part of it, the emotional resilience, that's going to make your schedule better, make things more perfect for you. So the veterinarians that thrive are the ones that can feel uncomfortable without shutting down, can process disappointments and struggles without self-doubt and self-criticism. The ones that can experience stressful situations without going all the way to burnout. And the people that allow themselves to rest and take care of themselves without the guilt. So your best year requires resilience, not becoming perfect in any way. So you don't need a year without challenges. There's really no such thing. Some years are worse than others, for sure. Like we all learned that during COVID, and we've all had deaths in our family. We've lost our heart animals. There's definitely years that are tougher. So we know the years will bring us the challenges, but we don't need to cave when that happens. We want to trust ourselves to handle those challenges, to feel the emotions, feel the negative emotions, and create the life that we want anyway. So, the last thing I want to talk a tiny bit about before we wrap up this podcast for you is it takes a commitment to yourself, even when things are uncomfortable. So, hiring a life coach and going to therapy or designing a life of open feelings is really uncomfortable. But designing the best year means making some of these decisions before things happen, if that makes sense. So taking the decisions of, I want to feel calm, confident, patient, and then turning that into an action step or a question, when will I rest so I can become more calm and patient? So I have to really think about that. When are you going to rest? Are you going to take a day a week? Are you going to take an hour a day? Are you going to take a week, a month? We've talked about this with some of our guests on the podcast. Some people take a whole day and just spend it in self-growth and self-reflection. That could be something that you do to kind of design this better life for yourself. But when will I rest? When will I create boundaries? When will I say no to people in order to protect my time? When will I reach out to someone and ask for help? How am I going to do that this year? When will I prioritize the things that I want, even when I'm being pressured to do the opposite? If I'm being pressured to go to work more than I'm required to, can I set a boundary? Can I make myself a priority? When the kids are begging for you to, do all the things, is there a way to set a boundary for yourself? And can you be present when your kids are playing so you can enjoy them instead of thinking about that to-do list that you're always creating in your head? I spent so much time when my kids were little just worrying about what was going to happen the next day instead of actually being in the day. So now, as I have a little perspective, I really try to be with my family when I'm with my family and just appreciate it for what it is. Because when you're working on personal growth, it almost always feels uncomfortable or awkward. And I felt so awkward the first time that I went to a life coach. But as I was being coached, I realized that I was learning so much about myself. I was growing in just that 45 minutes to an hour process. And I was learning what I wanted to bring more of into the world. So that growth that you're going to feel when you design your best year, it's going to feel awkward at first, but it's so worth it. And when you create a boundary the first time, it's going to feel very selfish. It always feels selfish to me when I say no, because we have this innate need to help people, and that's why we got into this profession in the first place. We're helpers, we're doers, we're creators, we're problem solvers. So when you go to create a boundary for yourself because you want to feel differently this year, it's going to feel selfish. And it's tough to say no, but it's important. It's a very important part of that growth you're trying to create. So if boundaries is one of your goals, be prepared for it to feel selfish. Be prepared to have a little self-doubt the first time you do it. Change is scary, but that discomfort that we feel when we're trying to change isn't the problem. It's a sign that you're expanding and growing, that you're learning. That discomfort is the pathway to that desired life. And that's something that my life coach always said when I was learning. Discomfort is the pathway to your goals, to your life, to what you want in the world. So feeling uncomfortable on purpose is part of the deal. So I would love for you this year, my veterinary friends, to not rush yourself into deciding what you want this year, but to actually spend some time working on it and thinking about it. We've kind of done that here in January. I've been trying to slow things down for you a little bit on the podcast, trying to, even the Wednesday weekly words when I write them, trying to pull you back a little bit from just plowing through this year without thought. I want you to be the veterinarian that helps animals but also has a beautiful life, a life that is sustainable, it's meaningful, and it's fulfilling. Because being in your life when it's fulfilling is magic. I mean, that's what we all are striving for. So this year doesn't need to be perfect. but it does need to come with intention. You're not behind if you haven't made any of these decisions yet. You're not unaware. You're not broken, for lack of a better word. I don't love that word, but sometimes we feel like we're broken when we're not keeping up with everything. You're capable, you're worthy, and you can design whatever it is that you want for your life. If you want to make millions of dollars, go make millions of dollars. If you want a functioning, stable family, build that for yourself. If you want to buy a home, let's do it. But it has to start with you. It has to start with you personally growing the way you handle the decisions that you're making in your life. And if you need help with any of this, if you want support, life coaching is a great tool. And I will vouch for therapy as well. Those are wonderful tools, sorry, to make this your best year ever. So take a tour through the tools. And I would love to be your helper. I would love to work with you, whether you want to get coaching from me or you want to just email me once in a while and fill me in on what you're doing. I'd love to hear from you. So reach out to me on my website, theveterinarylifecoach.com, or you can email me at jacappeldvm at gmail.com. And we can either set up a meeting or we can just go back and forth over email. If any of these things are speaking to you that I talk about, please reach out to me and let me know. And if there's any guests that you thought of, oh, I would love to hear this person on the podcast, send those suggestions to me. I get a lot of suggestions through my email, but you can reach me either way for guests for the podcast. And I'm trying every week to set up better and better guests for you so you get better and better information to build your life. And please share the podcast with your friends, anybody that's in our profession that might need a little support, because that's the goal. Veterinarians deserve better lives. We don't deserve to feel like we're on a hamster wheel, not making progress. And that's what we're trying to change here. So I hope that these things that I've talked about today, helping you design your better life, will help you in some way. And just know that I'm here for you and I'm supportive of you. And I just love this profession and love the people that work in it. So thanks so much for listening to the podcast. I will see you soon in a week and have a beautiful week. Bye.